Alright, welcome back. On this video for our text tricks in Adobe Illustrator, we are going to resume with our second artboard over here, which we're going to do the exclude feature on. So we're also going to put a letter on this artboard and a shape again. So I'm going to come back over here to my type tool, the letter T, and I'm going to click one time on my artboard. By default, it typically keeps the settings from the last time that you used it, so it's still showing the same font and size that I had last time. You can use the same first letter of your first name again, or you could do the first letter of your middle name or last name. That's your choice, but choose a letter, and once you have your letter chosen, just make sure that it is still at 150 point font. If not, type that in there. You can use the same font this time, or you could change it to a different font. That is your choice. I'm just going to keep it the same for ease of getting the video done quickly. Make sure that every time you're following a step that I'm giving on the screen that you are pausing the video in between the steps so that it's not running in the background and you're losing the place of where you're at. So if I say use the type tool and put your initial down, pause the video, do that step, and then come back and see what the next step is. Okay, so again, I'm going to move my letter to the center of my artboard, or about where I think the center of my artboard is. I'll show you at a later time how you can make sure exactly that it is in the center of your artboard if you want it to be that way. But again, also remember that this is still a text font and we want to change it to a vector graphic. And so I'm going to hit Control Y again and see that this one is indeed still a text font. And this one over here is our one that we did before that's outlined. So to get this into an outline or a vector image, I'm going to right click on it and say Create Outlines. Okay, when I see those little blue dots everywhere, that tells me that it is a vector image and that it is good. I can also see that it is an outline and no longer a solid black letter. Okay, I'm going to hit Control Y to turn my outline mode off and get back to my normal mode here. I remind you guys in class all the time that to save often. So anytime that we're doing steps in here, you can hit Control S and save, just to be sure that you're not going to lose any progress if something were to happen and the computer and or the software crashed. Once I have my letter, I'm going to come over here and do my shape tool again. So I'm just going to hold down my left mouse button. I can use the same shape I used last time. I could change it to a different shape. I'm going to go ahead and change it to a different shape just because then they look a little bit different from each other when I get done. Okay, so I'm going to click one time with my shape tool on my artboard to give me this pop-up here. I'm going to decide how many sides do I want my polygon to have, and I'm going to say, let's do 9 sides. I'm curious to see what it looks like, so why not? And then I can choose the radius of my polygon. I don't want my radius to be too big because then it's going to go outside my artboard, but if I accidentally do it too big or too small, remember that I can always resize it. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. I'm going to come up here and grab my black selection arrow tool, and I'm going to drag this down and make sure that it is on my artboard and not touching any of the sides. I can also use the arrow keys on my keyboard to position this. So that's what I was just doing, was using my arrow keys. And then I'm going to click off of it anywhere out here in my gray area outside of my artboards, because that will deselect whatever is selected. Okay. The next step I want to do is I want to select everything that is on this artboard, so my letter and my shape. So again, I'm going to hold down my left mouse button while I'm on my selection tool, my black arrow, outside of my artboard in the gray area. So I'm going to left click there and hold down, drag diagonally down to the bottom right corner so that I see this little dashed box. And then I'm going to let go, and it should, if I did my letter correctly and outlined it, it should select both my shape and my letter so that I can see the two through each other. Okay. Once I have those both selected, this time I'm going to come up to the tab that says Window and click it. And I'm going to come down to Pathfinder, and these are in alphabetical order, so come down to the P's and find the Pathfinder tool. Click on it to select it. When I do that, I'm going to notice that the top is Shape Modes and the bottom is Pathfinders. And if I hover over any of these tools, I can see exactly what they are. Okay, so the one we are wanting to use is the Exclude tool, which is the fourth icon. Okay, so I'm going to click it. And when I do, it's going to do this right here, which you can see is a very similar effect to our compound path that we did over here on our first artboard, but we did it a different way. And so I'm just showing you that there are multiple ways to do things, and you can choose whichever way you want to do when you start making your own designs. So now that we have that one done, we're going to go ahead and hit Control S and save that one. I'm going to stop this video and start one other one, which will be our offset path video that we do down here on Artboard 3. See you soon.